The Real Wolverine, a size comparison between movie and comic versions. Hey there, Marvel enthusiasts. Ever notice something different about Wolverine on the big screen compared to his comic book origins? If you've thought, wait a minute, isn't Wolverine supposed to be shorter? Then you're absolutely onto something. Today we're slicing through the details to uncover the real differences in size between Wolverine's comic and movie versions. Wolverine, aka Logan, the gruff, clawed mutant we've all come to love, has slashed his way into our hearts over the decades. From his first appearance in the comics to Hugh Jackman's legendary portrayal, he's been an essential part of the Marvel Universe. But there's a fascinating twist when it comes to his physical stature. In this video, we'll journey back to Wolverine's origins, delve into his comic book dimensions, and see how they compare to the towering figure we see on screen. We'll chat about why Hollywood made these changes and what it means for fans like us. So whether you're Team Comic Wolverine or Team Movie Wolverine, stick around because this is going to be a fun ride. The origins of Wolverine. Creation and debut in Marvel Comics. Let's rewind the clock to the 1970s. Wolverine was the brainchild of writer Len Wein and illustrator John Romita Sr. He first leaped onto the scene in The Incredible Hulk number 180 and number 181 in 1974. Can you believe he was originally just a guest character? But fans couldn't get enough of this mysterious, fierce Canadian mutant with retractable claws and a bad attitude. Romita Sr. designed Wolverine to be a short, irritable character, kind of like a Wolverine animal, small but ferocious. His mask with those sharp points was meant to resemble the animal's ears. Initially, he was intended as a superhero who could go toe-to-toe with the Hulk, and boy did he make an impression. Evolution of the character in comics. After his debut, Wolverine's popularity soared. He joined the X-Men in 1975's giant-size X-Men number 1, and that's when his character really started to blossom. Writers began to flesh out his backstory, his mysterious past, his struggles with his inner beast, and his search for identity. Physically, his short stature, standing at just 5'3", became a significant part of his character. It influenced his interactions, his attitude, and even his fighting style. He was the scrappy underdog who could take down foes twice his size. His height added depth, making his relentless spirit and toughness even more impressive. It's like the saying goes, it's not the size of the dog in the fight, but the size of the fight in the dog. Through various story arcs, like Weapon X and Old Man Logan, his physical attributes were consistently highlighted, reinforcing his image as the small but unstoppable force. Comic book Wolverine's physical attributes. Canonical height and build. Alright, let's talk numbers. In the Marvel Comics universe, Wolverine stands at a modest 5 feet 3 inches tall. Yep, you heard that right, 5'3". That's shorter than most of his fellow X-Men. But don't let the height fool you. He's packed with muscle, weighing around 300 pounds due to his adamantium-laced skeleton. His physique is described as stocky and rugged. He's like a condensed powerhouse. Bulky muscles, broad shoulders, and a low center of gravity. This build contributes to his animalistic fighting style. He's able to lunge, leap, and pounce with incredible agility, much like the Wolverine animal he's named after. His size also plays into his persona. Being shorter adds to his gruff, surly demeanor. It's part of why he's always ready for a fight. He's got something to prove, or at least that's what he'd have you believe. Impact of size on character dynamics. Wolverine's height isn't just a stat, it's integral to how he interacts with the world around him. Think about his relationships with characters like Cyclops or Colossus, who tower over him. This height difference often leads to interesting dynamics, like playful jabs or outright tension. His small stature contrasts with his formidable strength and ferocity. It's a classic underdog story. Nobody expects the shortest guy in the room to be the most dangerous. This adds an element of surprise in battles and storylines. For instance, in the fastball special move, Colossus literally throws Wolverine at their enemies, a tactic that plays off their size difference and teamwork. In story arcs like Enemy of the State, his size allows him to navigate tight spaces and take on larger foes in a way that his taller teammates can't. It reinforces the idea that being smaller doesn't make you any less of a threat. In fact, it can be an advantage. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine in the movies. Casting of Hugh Jackman. Now, let's fast forward to the late 90s. When casting began for the first X-Men movie, finding the perfect Wolverine was a tall order, pun intended. Initially, actors like Dougray Scott were considered, but due to scheduling conflicts, a relatively unknown Australian actor named Hugh Jackman was brought in. At 6 feet 2 inches tall, Jackman was significantly taller than the comic book Wolverine. Fans were, let's say, skeptical. Many wondered if he could capture the essence of the beloved character. But Jackman was determined. He dove deep into preparing for the role, studying the comics, adopting intense workout routines, and even learning about wolves and wolverines to nail that animalistic vibe. Physical differences from the comic version. Hugh Jackman's Wolverine is quite literally head and shoulders above his comic counterpart. Standing at 6'2", he's nearly a foot taller than the original character. His build is also different, more lean and athletic rather than stocky and bulky. The costume design in the movies opted for a more subdued look, moving away from the yellow and blue spandex of the comics to black leather suits. This was a creative choice to ground the character in a more realistic world. These physical differences changed the visual dynamic of Wolverine on screen. Instead of the small, fierce underdog, we got a tall, brooding figure. But despite the height difference, Jackman managed to capture the essence of Wolverine's toughness and inner turmoil. Performance and character interpretation. Jackman's portrayal focused on Wolverine's emotional depth, his lost memories, his struggle with identity, and his reluctance to connect with others. His physicality brought a new dimension to the character. The intensity he brought to fight scenes and his ability to convey pain and rage resonated with audiences. Critics and fans alike praised his performance. Over time, Jackman became synonymous with Wolverine, playing the character for 17 years. His dedication won over even the most skeptical fans, proving that sometimes different interpretations can bring something valuable to the table. Reasons behind the size differences. Practical considerations in casting. So, why the big difference in size? Well, casting a lead actor is a complex process. Hollywood often favors taller actors for leading roles. It's an industry trend. Finding a shorter actor with the physicality, charisma, and acting chops to play Wolverine proved challenging. Additionally, the logistics of filming can be tricky with height disparities. It's easier to match actors in scenes when their heights are similar. Plus, Hugh Jackman brought a certain star quality and work ethic that made him a great fit despite the height difference. At the end of the day, studios aim to create a successful film that appeals to a wide audience. Jackman's casting was a strategic move to bring Wolverine to life in a way that would resonate on the big screen. Creative decisions in adaptation. From a creative standpoint, filmmakers often make adjustments when adapting comics to movies. The goal is to balance staying true to the source material with creating something that works cinematically. The decision to cast a taller actor may have been influenced by the desire to present Wolverine as a more conventional leading man. A taller stature can convey dominance and presence on screen, which is effective in action-packed narratives. Moreover, they focused on capturing Wolverine's personality traits, his gruffness, his battle with his own nature, and his protective instincts, rather than strictly adhering to his physical dimensions. By doing so, they maintain the essence of the character while adapting him for a different medium. It's a reminder that adaptations are interpretations, and sometimes changes are made to suit the storytelling style of films versus comics. Impact on fans and the franchise. Fan reactions over time. Initially, some die-hard comic fans weren't thrilled about the height difference. Comments like, "Wolverine's supposed to be short," popped up in forums and discussions. For purists, this was a significant deviation from the character they knew and loved. However, as the movies were released, many fans warmed up to Jackman's portrayal. His commitment to the role and the depth he brought to Wolverine won people over. Over time, the height issue became less of a sticking point, overshadowed by the overall success of the character's adaptation. The conversation shifted from criticism to appreciation, with fans acknowledging that while he wasn't a physical match in terms of height, he embodied the spirit of Wolverine in a way that honored the character. Influence on future depictions. Jackman's towering depiction of Wolverine has influenced other media portrayals of the character. In video games and animated series, we've seen versions that blend the comic and movie interpretations. As we look to the future, especially with the possibility of Wolverine joining the Marvel Cinematic Universe, there's speculation about who will next take up the claws. Will they choose an actor closer in height to the comic version? There's a growing conversation about staying true to the original physical attributes. Regardless, Jackman's legacy has set a high bar. His portrayal has become a benchmark, and future adaptations will undoubtedly be influenced by his performance, whether they choose to stick with his taller stature or return to the shorter roots of the character. Comparative analysis of both versions. Strengths and authenticity of the comic version. The comic book Wolverine's short stature is more than a physical trait. It's a core part of his identity. It contributes to his underdog status and his relentless drive to prove himself. His height impacts how other characters perceive and interact with him, adding layers to his relationships. This version allows for unique storytelling opportunities. His small size juxtaposed with his immense power creates compelling narratives. It emphasizes that true strength isn't about physical height, but resilience and determination. For many fans, this authentic portrayal is what makes the comic Wolverine so enduring. Contributions of the movie version. On the flip side, the movie version, while taller, brought Wolverine to life for a global audience. Jackman's portrayal added a new dimension to the character, highlighting his vulnerability and humanity. The physical presence he brought helped convey the internal struggles of Wolverine in a visceral way. This interpretation made the character accessible to people who might not have read the comics. It expanded Wolverine's fan base and cemented his status as a cinematic icon. The movies also delved deep into his backstory, giving us heartfelt moments that resonated emotionally. Both versions have their strengths, and each brings something valuable to the legacy of Wolverine. So there you have it, the tale of two Wolverines. Whether it's the compact, ferocious fighter from the comics or the tall, brooding hero from the movies, each version has clawed its way into our hearts in its own unique way. The size differences between the comic and movie versions highlight how adaptations can reinterpret characters while maintaining their core essence. While the comic Wolverine's height contributes to his underdog persona and scrappy fighting style, Hugh Jackman's portrayal brings depth and accessibility, proving that sometimes changes can open new doors. At the end of the day, both interpretations celebrate what we love about Wolverine: his unbreakable spirit, his struggle between man and beast, and his unwavering sense of justice, even if it's on his own terms. It's a great reminder that superheroes can come in all shapes and sizes. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Do you prefer the comic book Wolverine or the movie version? Or maybe you enjoy both for different reasons. Drop your opinions in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into Wolverine's world. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe for more Marvel content, and hit that notification bell so you never miss an update. Until next time, stay uncanny.